a good story that I sent Amy earlier today. Here's the headline. I'm just going to hand this to her, and then I'm going to step back. Here we go, Amy. U.S. Department of Education data system is riddled with vulnerabilities for students. Amy, what does that mean?
What? I'm shocked.
Golly.
I cannot believe it. Who would have ever guessed that?
No.
Yeah. Didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't see that at all. So they're collecting data on all of these kids. Now, after you read the story there, exactly how is it riddled with problems?
Well, and they got people hacking into the system. They got people that were on the system they didn't even know they had in the system. I mean, they're lots of ways. Lots of ways that I imagine if you're a techie. I'm not even a techie, Glenn, so I can't even, I don't even know the intricacies enough to get as upset as a techie would probably get reading this article.
Why would somebody be hacking into the system is what I want. If you're just collecting a bunch of data on students, why would somebody be hacking into it?
I mean, are you kidding me? 139 million social security numbers?
Aha, there you go. Okay,
why wouldn't you?
You're talking, see, this is the setup, and then she hits him out of the ballpark. So, no, this is a chance for people to start with identity theft before the parents would ever know that the kid's identity was stolen. Because, if you, Amy, had your identity stolen, you would know the moment you started seeing charges on your cards and things like that. But a kid, however, and the parents wouldn't know, because why would the kid have a credit card? Yet somebody else is out there running up something on the kid's name.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it goes even beyond that. All the folks that you look at some of the security issues just beyond this article, the reason that for internal securities and even national security, the reason that you want to try to get young children's social security numbers, because if you then track these children, and some of them may pass away if one of them dies, and you can assume that identity, and that's how we have spies that come into this country. That's how people get identities that they can maintain for years and years and years. So this goes even beyond, and the financial aspects of taking someone's identity is bad, but this is even worse.
Right. Well, we were told, this is one of the long lists of reasons why I refused to sign up for the Unaffordable Care Act, because we were told that all of this data that we have to put in to sign up for this, for Obamacare, would be secure. And then we find out for the longest time, they didn't have any security at all. I mean, none.
Right.
So anybody who wanted to hack in to get your information through the Unaffordable Care Act could just go ahead and do it. There was absolutely no security. Then we hear about the Chinese hacking in and grabbing the Social Security numbers and other vital information of government officials, including somebody very intimately.
Yeah, so this has happened personally to my family, Glenn. This is why, this is what has frustrated me about following this and following in Wyoming, the state longitudinal data system that they're trying to create. So my husband, Harlan, who is, of course, Representative Harlan Edmonds in the legislature, he actually worked for the U.S. Department of Defense in his younger years, and he held a very high security clearance, a NATO security clearance. We received a letter a couple of weeks ago from the U.S. State Department that basically said, the U.S. Department of Defense, that basically said, we're sorry.
Yeah.
You're one of the people that they stole all of your information. Oops. Sorry about that.
Yeah. And that's all they're going to do, because if you had any actual damage done to you or him because of this, it's not like they're going to, find some monetary solution or some way to fix the problem. You're not exactly going to get a check for damages.
Well, there's no way the federal government, given how many people's information has been stolen, I think it would be more expensive than Obamacare if they tried to handle the damages. So far, we thankfully haven't seen anything major happen. We've been monitoring it carefully, but it is still a major inconvenience and really a very vulnerable thing to know that someone has access. And in this instance, because of the fact that he held a clearance, these are folks that might be looking for other even more serious things. So, it's concerning. For parents, this has always been a huge concern. This has been one of the issues with the whole Common Core, state longitudinal data, this whole big amalgamation of problems that we've been talking about for years, that this is a problem. This is a big problem.
Well, and just to simply say, people like you and I are treated as if we're nuts, because if we're walking down the street and a police officer were to ask you where you're going, let me see your ID, we can go ahead and turn and say, no, unless we were doing something wrong. It's none of your business where I'm going. I even have friends who don't like driving in more modern vehicles because, hey, there are things out there that are trackable, and it's just none of your business where I'm going. So we're just paranoid. We're delusional. We're paranoid. And yet, not only are they data mining someone like your husband, let's say the Chinese, for example, because he had high security clearance at NATO and things like that. But now if you have a kid in school, and this is just a little crumb cruncher who is like in kindergarten, all of that data is out there for anybody who wants to mine through it and do whatever they want. So how much potential damage later in life do you think this could cause, Amy, if somebody got a hold of your kid's data?
Well, I mean, obviously a lot. As you said, there's identity theft issues. I think what disturbed parents the most was the crossover between health records and because, the difference between FERPA and all of the health records. FERPA, which is the education legislation that sort of protects education, actually trumps all of the health stuff. And so, in other words, they don't have to be as careful as they are with your health records if they become education records. And of course, children's health records become part of their education records because, we require immunizations, we require you go to the student nurse. So parents were concerned about that. They were also very concerned beyond the obviously immediate issues of identity theft with this commercialization. So there's been questions about, if you read that article that we're talking about, they had subcontractors from the U.S. Department of Education who were able to log in and grab a hold of those students. What parents were concerned about is my kid now going to become tracked to sell them products and sell them, things like that. Because remember, this is a big pool of kids and people that you could be commercialized and sell stuff to. So, there's a lot of issues around this that parents were very upset with.
Okay, now this is where I'm going to warn you guys in advance. I'm going to read this paragraph to Amy, and she's going to flip out on you. Okay, just so you know. You ready, Amy?
I'm ready.
The lead paragraph of this. The U.S. Department of Education. Oh, by the way, Amy, U.S. Department of Education, if you make that an acronym, used. And isn't that great? I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Very fitting.
Has been pushing, bribing, and otherwise incentivizing states to expand their student data systems to track students from preschool through to the workforce. Using the data, they claim can transform education to ensure that each child develops into the type of worker and global citizen the government wants them to be.
That just makes my head explode, Glenn. I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
Any thinking person should be deeply troubled, and it's troubling. What troubles me the most is when I read that, I realized that those little talking points are happening here in Wyoming. Right now, our current superintendent of public instruction is talking all about workforce development, and we've got to train these kids workforce. So all of this stuff, all the garbage that happens in the federal government always comes straight down the education pipeline and into the state. And so if you think if you've heard this and think, oh, well, that's happening in DC, but here in Wyoming, we're good. Let me tell you, that stuff's happening right here in our state. The data system is here in the state, and all this push to turn the kids into little widget makers, it's happening.
Sure. And this is collectivism and socialism is what we're talking about here, because in truly a free country, the only thing that the government would worry about is, are these individuals, and everybody out there is an individual, are these individuals protected so they can go out and build whatever kind of life for themselves, for better or worse, that they want to build? We need to make sure that the people are protected and free so they can just write the script of their own life and go. But instead, they're trying to mold us into what they want us to be as a society, and that kind of a direction is a collectivist society. In other words, they want to make America into a big anthill. Yeah,
that's right. Pretty soon, little Johnny's going to be told what widget he's going to be making, when, and how. It's all, that's exactly it. And they have to collect the data. I mean, part of the data collection is also to track these kids from birth to death, figure out everything that they want to do with them and get them in line. So you've got this data collection. And, again, like you said, for the folks that listen to this and think we're all just tinfoil hatters and it's not happening, It's happening. I mean, right now in Wyoming, the P20 State Longitudinal Data System it's in the middle of a long process. So they're still in phase one, the first phase, which is going on from November of 2014 to basically December of next year, 2016, where they're basically putting together the whole concept of how they're going to build the system. Now, it should be done by the end of next year. The second phase is where they're going to begin to build the system and incorporate all of these other state agencies, incorporate, as they say, other agencies and sources as needed and desired, tune and improve how they're going to query all this data and start using it to monitor little Johnny, secure how they're going to anonymize, which is, as I read this off of a report from the state agency, it makes me laugh because we actually have in our Wyoming document secure anonymization of data as more data is collected. So they think they're going to keep it private. They think they're going to keep it secure. Well, the federal government isn't being very successful, but okay, I guess Wyoming thinks it will be. And then finally, they're going to create the instruments to reduce and eliminate data burdens on agencies. So somehow they think they're going to, and that's going to start happening January of 2017 to December of 2018. So this is happening in Wyoming right now.
Okay, so for all those people who think this is all just kind of wild conspiracy theory or something like that, Amy writes extensively about this for Wyoming Liberty Group. So for those people who want to get a hold, Amy, of your stories and follow what's going on, and you even, of course, have ways that people can get involved, where do they find your writings?
WILiberty.org.
Okay. Amy, as always, very informative. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Glenn.